There was a lot of questions around this Donda 2 release because people were asking, how is this going to be officially released? Because we went to the Miami show on Tuesday and we didn't get any word of new material. And then yesterday, we ended up getting 4 new songs. And then if you fast forward to today, we ended up getting a whole track list and what it seemed to be a completed track list, which is apparently called the Miami version. So Lou and I just did our first listen on it. I mean, we gave it our first thoughts. We ended up doing it with our whole community on our Patreon plan at our live album reaction. And if you guys want to see our first reaction to Donda 2, the Miami version, the link is in the description and also on the pinned comment, so you guys are able to access that. And it was interesting because it was the first time in a while where I went into a Kanye album. And by the way, we don't know if this is going to be the final version. Hopefully it's not, in my opinion, where I felt disappointed. And I think that's where I want to start this off is if you're going to have people pay for a $250 stem player, the material should be finished, in my opinion. You've marketed it that the final album will be released on that stem player. And if this is the final album, it does not feel like it. So how do you take this as a Kanye West fan, and are you satisfied with your first experience with the album?
Listen, I'm one of those Kanye West fans that truly believes that he has one of the best discographies of all time, any genre. But if this is the finished product, or if anything is similar to what we heard off of this new drop, I'm really fucking not impressed with it. And let us know in the comments how you guys feel about it, because going through this, I was in disbelief, bro. I mean, the mixing was awful, which, fine, it's an incomplete version. I guess I can get past that. But the production on a lot of the trap beats kind of felt generic, but you did have some highlights where you had songs like Sci-Fi, where you had more of an orchestral piece, I would say. You had sinister strings, and there are highlights within the production, but where this album, or at least this version of the album, really falls flat is Kanye's performances. And I never thought that he would be totally outshined on all of these songs, and that's what the narrative ended up being. I mean, look at songs like Broken Road, where Don Toliver absolutely carries as he floats over that hook. Look at songs like True Love or Selfish, where the only salvageable part is the hooks by XXXTentacion. So I was just shocked by the end of this that this is something that he put out, that this is a Kanye West project. That's kind of what really shook me up. But how did you feel about his performances?
Very mediocre, I have to say that. Like, looking at this track list right now, because we were able to look through the SoundCloud one, and these are the official files for the stem player, there's very few performances where I was actually impressed with. Like, the only one I would say is probably True Love, that first verse, and even at that, it wasn't that great. It definitely wouldn't be top tier on the first version. And I have a whole issue too with the whole Donda 2 remake, because it's the first sequel in his career, and I understand, you know, there's artists that tried to capture hype on, you know, a new album, and you know, you see the first installment did so well. It was a major W for the whole fan base. Everyone loved Donda. You know, everyone was a big fan of the first installment. We were. But to take that album title, put a 2 in front of it, and take a bunch of tracks and just throw them on a track list and have a playlist feel to it, to me feels super uninspiring. And listen, maybe we're not the only ones here. Let us know if we're tripping, or, you know, what type of stuff that we haven't listened to on this album that you guys found good with it. But even our community on Patreon said that they didn't fuck with it. So listen to this. For the Donda V2 version, the Miami one, 70% of our people in the stream voted for bad, 19% mid, 7% good to great, and then after that 2% to perfect/amazing. So do you think that there's starting to be a shift right now on how people are looking at this new Kanye West material? Because Connor said it best in the stream today. He was like, how does Kanye like allow for this material to be released? Especially someone that has had such tight quality control over his whole career. He's delayed albums because they don't sound right to him. He's taken his time. He's crafted masterpieces. So where does this come out of? Especially when you're charging people so much for that fucking stem player.
Bro, it's a fucking train wreck. I'm not gonna lie. This whole release is really subpar. I think that if this is what ends up being released, it'll be the worst Kanye album. I think it's gonna get completely panned. If you look at his delivery when he's mumbling, it's just awful. And honestly, for the first time ever, you know, he has a song which is where he's kind of rapping about burning down the house. I think he should burn this album. I don't think this album has a place in his catalog, and it's mind-boggling to look at his writing on this project, because there's a lot of emptiness here. I'm not getting that same emotion and purpose that I got on the first Donda album. I'm not getting that same spirituality or soul and rhythm from Kanye West either, which has been prominent on all of his projects. So this definitely sounds rushed. And when he first announced this album, that was a concern I was going to have, was like, he's releasing 6 months later. How good is this really going to sound? And sadly, there's not many standouts, but shout out to a lot of the features because they did do their thing, including X, including Jack Harlow on Louis Bags. I really loved his verse and how introspective his writing was on that. But it's just crazy that at this point, Kanye West did a better job curating than performing on his own album. And listen, obviously Kanye West is a good curator, but he's always given us meaningful moments, and this project feels like it's lacking a lot of that. So,
and this is if it's the final version. Listen, we might end up, because we didn't want to put out an official review because we don't know if this is going to be the final version, but based on what was delivered on the stem player, and apparently, according to the whole marketing of the stem player, this was going to be the album experience. If this is what the album experience is like, then I'm sorry, this is not up to par. And another big narrative for me within this track list is, okay, you look at True Love, XXXTentacion outperforms Kanye. Broken Road, Don Toliver has a much better part. We Did It, Baby Keem and Migos have much longer runtime on the song, by the way, and outshine him on that as well. Pablo, that gets a bit repetitive for me, but even at that, Travis Scott had the best part on that. Louis Bags, Jack Harlow killed that. Happy, Future killed it. Sean Leon did his thing on Sci-Fi. So he's putting out songs, and it almost feels as if the features have way more of an impact on the project than he does. And I have a problem with that, because what I love Kanye West for is that heart and soul that he bleeds into each and every single one of his albums. It inspires me. It allows me to keep moving on with my life. The catalog, sits with me forever, and I've been bumping his projects forever. He's one of my favorite artists to even cover on this podcast. I love doing material on him because his projects are so dense, they're so detailed, and the music quality is fire.
but how is Soulja Boy carrying him on a song?
Why is Soulja Boy on a Kanye album in 2022? I get it. The memes are funny. I get it. People fuck with the whole thing of, Soulja Boy didn't make it, and, him getting on whatever sort of radio station or podcast and getting mad about him not making the album. I get all that. That's amusing. It's fun for the headlines. Don't bring that into the album. That's what I'm trying to say, is that even if you look at the way that this is structured, what's different than what the rest of his albums are, this feels like a playlist. This does not feel coherent. There is no sonic direction here. You could say that it's trap influenced. I mean, look at Pablo. Look at Happy. Those are trap beats.
Weezy had a banger of a beat, by the way.
Is it really trap influenced? Is it really down to that to its core? Is it sounding like what we heard maybe on snippets or leaks of TurboGrafx 16? If that's the case, then wouldn't you rather have TurboGrafx 16 than, let's say, taking Donda, making a sequel, and then after that just flooding it with Lucy material? That's my issue with this. I feel as if the quality control was not taken into consideration this time, and hopefully this is a part of the creative process.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm hoping.
The mixing and mastering is absolutely fucking atrocious, man.
There's
that. There's also a lot of times where the instrumentals are dragging, and it feels like, okay, a verse could have been placed here, or the song could have ended. And then you get songs like Get Lost where Kanye is using the vocoder, but it just ends up sounding like an AI version of Kanye West. It doesn't sound good at all. Then you have the other song, which I think is called Too Easy, where there's no production. It's just him, again, using the vocoder and saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And I have a problem with that. I'm not getting any substance from Kanye. How is that a possibility on one of his albums? And it just disappointed me from start to finish. I mean, there's very few highlights, if any. And listen, guys, that's how we're feeling right now. Hopefully, once the entire album is released, we'll have better thoughts, and we'll have more to talk about, because this just seemed lacked of any purpose, to be honest with you. And
even the writing at times was a bit corny, bro. Like the whole Lewinsky thing, like when he was like Lewinsky.
Yeah,
like
those inflections weren't good.
And not the Morgan Freeman and Seaman bar. Like, dude, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah,
bro?
it's
like you were in the album, and I was genuinely like, what? Like, Kanye is such a great fucking writer. I love his material. But when it gets to this point, I think that, you just got to stand back and you got to see what happens with this. Because listen, hopefully this is not the final version. I pray to God. Somehow, please don't let this be the final version. I hope it's not.
Would you rather he scraps it if it's not the final version? Yeah.
Why would you need this? Are you going back to any of these? First of all, you can't even go back to any of these because it's not on your fucking Apple Music or your Spotify. So
I respect that move because it's very innovative, but I don't respect it because the quality of the music isn't up to par. It's not a finished product.
I respect the way artists release their music. That's up to them. But Kanye knows what type of hold he has on his fan base, and that it's one of the most diehard fan bases in music. He knew everyone was gonna go pick up this stem player, legit. Everyone knew that they were gonna go pick up this, and what do you expect when you go into the album?
You have to keep this in mind. He's a process artist. I'm not saying this is good at all, because it's really not, but he's a process artist. I'm sure this won't be the final version. I'm sure some fans are still happy to be able to see what he's been working on, despite it not being any fucking good. But, I mean, listen, all we could hope for, like you said, is that the album does improve, he makes major changes, or maybe abandons the whole Donda 2 concept altogether. But let us know in the comments how you guys feel about this new version of Donda. And of course, once the final album does drop, we will be doing an album review. So hit that subscribe button if you're new here. And thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching the full video, and if you're new to NFR, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we'll be keeping you guys updated with the latest album releases in terms of update videos, album reviews, and our own original series on the weekly. And we also have our Patreon plan available in the description below, where you can access weekly bonus content and also access to our Discord. So be sure to check out all of that, and we'll catch you in the next one.